That's why very few tenors sing Johnny's ka ka ki ki. It can't be. It's like you can't curve your tongue and have a B flat at the same time. It's like the weirdest thing. So the reason that I'm pointing that example out, because it's an extreme example of a very difficult note that exists in one place of the voice, which is essentially the back lifted soft palate back here, and the E vowel, which in its truth is in the front. You, as a singer and a technician, have to say, okay, well, how am I going to make those two work together? Because you can't sing Johnny's ka-ka. I mean, you can, but you ideally want to be understood. You need to sing Johnny's ke-ke or Johnny's ke-ke, some related vowel to E. The closest you can get that will make the B flat make sense. So, and this happens a lot in opera, guys. I mean, you're not going to get the word ah or the word oh. You're not going to get vocalese, sing whatever the hell vowel you want on whatever pitch you want. You're going to have text that you want to convey. So this is why vowels and modifying them and being open to modifying them is something I want you guys to always know that you have available to you. So vowels can be open, as in ah, that's a very open vowel. Ah, God is love. Those are very open vowels. Closed vowels would be like Die Bildnis ist bezaubernd schön. Those are closed vowels. Is a closed vowel. O is a closed vowel. A is a closed vowel. And every language has, or lots of the languages that we sing in at least, have an open and a closed version. And they vary a little bit with each language. But there are your pure vowels, your a, e, o, u's in life. And then there are your mixed vowels, like as in schön. Schön, 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 schön. Depends on how you ask. I think it's schön. Die Zauberflöte. Flirte. How many damn times does he have to say flirte in that opera, right? And Ton. Wie stark ist nicht dein Zauberton. Oh my God, he's not going to go ton. I mean, that's not correct. So he got to figure out how to make resonance down there. And sometimes you hear people completely cheating and changing the vowel to some extreme ridiculous thing that I don't even understand. And what you can do, the ideal thing to do, is to try and mix a vowel in a sneaky way that nobody can really hear that you're mixing. So sometimes it helps me to simply think a different vowel rather than actually sing a different vowel, if that makes sense. So if I'm singing Gualtier Malde, it does not help me to think Gualtier. It helps me to think Gualtier. Gualtier. Because O-E, the French is a fabulous tool for the passaggio. Because the makes your lips bell and it brings the sound forward for you. So I'm going to think Gualtier Mulder. Now, if you're listening and you know I'm thinking Gualtier Mulder, you hear, wow, it sounds like Gualtier Mulder. But if you don't know that I'm thinking that, you will hear Gualtier Malde. Now, I can vary from that extreme a little, and I can try to sing the pure vowels again. But that's 10 times more difficult for me because it's in the passaggio. So I encourage you to, as you're playing and you have the pure version of what you're supposed to be singing and then some mixed version, and try to play and find the in-between as much as you can get away with, yeah? Vowels have backspace and front space, depending on which ones they are. Some of them really resonate in the back palate, lifted kind of back there, like as we saw on the chart, and some of them are absolutely 100% forward. And finding the mix of this, essentially what I'm describing in the Gualtier Malde example, is the concept of chiaroscuro. Chiaroscuro means light and dark, or clear dark, if you will, depending on however you want to translate them. The point of it is there are vowels. Every sound ideally, in a beautiful operatic voice, should have an element of brightness to it, comes from forward placement, and darkness to it, which comes from back resonance. So it's absolutely fine to sing 100% scuro. If you say, I like the sound of a dark, ridiculously dark backspace voice, I like that sound, that is absolutely okay. You can do that. Just like you can absolutely love a 100% bright voice. You can absolutely do that anytime you like. But the chiaroscuro is kind of the ideal. Every voice has kind of a dark side and it's like a moon. It has the bright side and it has its dark side. And you can't really call one stronger than the other. So that's kind of the sound. If you're thinking of, well, what's the prettiest, most ideal sound from Gualtier Malde? Is it the brightest? Gualtier Malde! That's the most chiaro I can possibly muster at this moment. The darkest I can muster is that's me darkening. They're not wrong. Neither of them is wrong. I can pick, you know what I'm saying? But my point is, those are my extremes. So then I'm going to try to find a pretty happy medium. And that's very hard to do in the passaggio. It's very hard to do with every register of the voice, honest to God. But it's one of the things that when you're playing around with your technique, that you can say, okay, well, let's see what's available to me by going through my brightest version of a vowel and my darkest version of a vowel, and then finding the one that works in the pitch that you need, in the dynamic. As long as everything is linked to the support, you're not doing anything wrong, okay? The only thing you would do wrong is to sing like this and try to make it work. Like, that would be hurting yourself for no reason. The best thing you can do, no matter what sound you're choosing, chiaro or more scuro, or you're covering or you're finding a color, as long as it's on the support with enough breath behind it and is on the pitch and everything is free and there's space, you can pick any color you want. Because some vowels are very short, some vowels are very long. I mean, in German in particular, you have a lot of short vowels that have extremely long consonants, like Kuss. You have that sometimes. So it's not, you're not always going to have a chance to really sing through a vowel. So knowing exactly where you're going to stick it by knowing your placement is a thing. Now, placement, a lot of people don't agree with the idea of placement. They say, you don't place the voice. Yes, you do place the voice, actually. And you place the voice, and you don't move your larynx around any more than your larynx needs to move to match a pitch. But you place the voice by creating space and choosing to resonate more in one space than in another. You can choose to resonate more forward, as I did a moment ago when I demonstrated. I can choose to resonate more back. That is placement. That is me saying, I am placing the voice here, or I'm placing the voice here. So yes, placement exists, but it's simply a feeling of where I'm directing more of my airflow by what I'm doing with my tongue, what I'm doing with my palate, my space back there, my space here, underneath my jaw. Now, sometimes if you feel like you're getting stuck in any spot, in the passaggio, in the higher register, wherever, and you feel like you need to find more space, a really cool little thing you can do is to open your throat. Just think of opening your throat, kind of like a bullfrog. Like if you were to put your hands right here under your chin gently, and you do like a bullfrog. You feel that muscle kind of go, I'm a bullfrog. Okay, that's simple, tiny movement. It's actually kind of strong. They're very strong muscles, yeah? When you're singing and you're feeling a little tight, all I do is open my throat a little bit to allow a little more space. It lowers the larynx naturally. It lifts the palate naturally. It makes you yawn, absolutely. All that happens. Now, Stephen, I just happened to see you yawn. It was so funny. I was like, yeah, it makes you yawn. Oh my God, he's dying. But that is one thing that can help you link to finding more space. So you don't have to think all just in the back. Try, if you need to, if you're feeling like you can't feel it, you can't access it, you already feel like you're lifted, try opening the jaw here, or opening the tongue, the throat here, opening the throat here. In Callas's Juilliard masterclasses, she always says, you need to sing everything with an open throat. And I think that's what she means, that this needs to feel open. Oh. That really helps if you can access that when you're going down into your low register, particularly. That's going to be all about that open throat, all down in there. So when you're, let's see, I talked about, so building an extension was one of the things that, we were talking about, right? So how should you, when you warm up, where should it start? Where should it end? Should you work more on your middle voice and everything? Yes, you should do all of that. The one thing you shouldn't try to do consciously is to try to add weight to your voice. And by weight, I mean try to make it sound heavier than it actually is. And the reason that this is a danger, particularly when you're really young, is that it doesn't focus on core and resonance, but it focuses on power and pressure and thickness. And weight is a drag. I mean, eventually, as you get older, the weight will come. It will come more with time. But if you spend your young years building, especially as you're building your technique and you're not over 30 or so, because your voice will change over time. But if you're in your early 20s and your voice is still light and it's still kind of forming and you're still finding it, focus all your efforts, if possible, on building your technique and finding your ideal resonance space. It's in the front, it's in the back, it's in the throat. All of these three little spots, this little triangle of happiness here, is where a lot of your sound, resonance, loudness, piercing, core, squealo, all of that comes from the availability of those three spaces, yeah? As I was saying about getting older, my voice definitely changed. When I hit 21 actually, my voice started to change. And I went through a good little couple of months where I was like, I don't know what the hell's happening. I feel like every day I wake up with another voice. I feel like I can't do things the same way. And my larynx kind of started to naturally kind of drop. And in my mid to late 20s, it started to drop a little more. And then in my 30s, when I hit 30, my voice dropped even more. And by dropping, I don't mean like, oh, my voice suddenly got lower. I just meant like the feeling that I would have in my throat while I was singing was that my throat had a tendency to want to come down all the time. And I remember telling my teacher, I was like, what is happening? I would like sing vibrato and it was like sounded deeper. It was like more deeply rooted, if that makes sense. And my teacher was like, go ahead. Don't try to lift it up if it feels like because when you're young, the light sound comes more naturally because you are a young person. So if I were singing Gualtier Malde, when I was younger, it was like, I can't even hardly do it anymore because it was just so much lighter. Now it's like, it's this ridiculously different sound. I'm like, what is happening? And I remember my teacher saying, no, just let your larynx drop. Let it happen. That's age. That's growth. That's life. And that will happen to you. And so this is where your technique's going to have to rework itself every couple of years. You're going to revisit things that are going to feel very different. You're going to find that certain things are not as easy as they once were. Like when I was 20 and 21 and 22, I could roll out of bed and not warm up and sing a perfect B-flat piano any second that I wanted. Now I have to warm up. I have to take a shower. I have to like do all this like hoopla, hoopla, brouhaha to get my voice to warm up. And then I can finally sing piano by the end of my warm up. And it takes me so much longer. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? And there's nothing wrong with me. That is normal. That is age. But then the thing is, I have more stamina. I have more core. I have more breath support. I have better high notes. I have a lot of things that I didn't have when I was 21 because I've figured out certain elements of my technique and kept them applied. And I'm aware of them. And when I feel things creeping in, I check in and I say, okay, it's got to be one of these things. Or I ask my teacher, hey, what does this sound like? Is this wrong? Is this right? Blah, blah, blah. So your tongue, the reason I'm thinking of tongue is because I remember specifically going to my teacher a couple of years ago. And I was messing around recording myself. And I had my tongue, and I let my tongue lift up like that, like as in you're singing like like the curve, okay? And I was like, whoa, that sounds so good. Is that okay? I wonder if I can do that. I wonder if that's okay. And I called my teacher and I said, can you listen to me real quick? Does this sound okay? And he said, don't do that. He just thought I was like, do not do that. And I was like, why? It sounds so cool. And he's like, no, it's fake darkening. It is fake darkening. It is not, it is artificial manufacturing of a sound. And I said, yeah, but he's like, no, the tongue muscles that it requires to have that happening up there block the sound. They might sound cool and dark like from here to there, but it's actually not, the tongue is literally blocking the air from escaping your mouth. So you need to drop your tongue and don't let that happen. Now your tongue is going to curve. So it'll retract with certain vowels, as you saw on the chart. I mean, you can't sing E with your tongue 100% pressed against your teeth. I mean, you can, but you have to curve your tongue all the way forward for it to happen. Your tongue retracts. Your tongue retracts. So thinking about your tongue, try to only worry about it if it's doing something that is getting in your way. If the tongue is blocking sound from you some kind of way, and if you're feeling your tongue creating tension under here, or if your jaw is tense, check in with what your tongue is doing. If you feel like your tongue, because sometimes people say, I feel like my tongue is completely in the back of my mouth and I'm swallowing it. And if that happens, you can tell your tongue, hey, lay down flat, and move your tongue down flat, and see if that helps. Because tongues can get in the way. Once in a while, your tongue will be like, hey, I'm at the party, I'm wiggling around and this and that. Your tongue can move. There's nothing wrong with a tongue that doesn't lay perfectly like relaxed and flat in the mouth. It's going to move around to help you speak, okay? That's normal, that's fine. But if you're singing and you see, there are so many famous singers, you guys, famous, brilliant, phenomenal singers, who you watch videos of them and their tongue is like literally dancing the whole time that they're singing. And is that incorrect? I don't actually think that that's a problem. I feel like it's only a problem if it's blocking your sound some kind of way. Your tongue is going to move because it's attached to the larynx, and your larynx is going to vibrate because there's air coming through it. So don't freak out if you look in the mirror and you see your tongue moving or participating. It's nice to have less tongue tension, of course. I completely agree. It's just, I feel like if you start obsessing over your tongue and moving your tongue around, you actually create more tension than just trying not to think about it. So one of the things a girl asked me earlier today was, I feel like I'm having all this tension in my jaw. How do I release it? And my answer was, if you're trying to release something, it's a better trick for your brain if you tell your brain to engage something else. So rather than being like, I need to release my tongue, instead of releasing your tongue, or thinking, I need to release my tongue, or I need to release something, I'm tense, I need to release my jaw, think of instead engaging your soft palate, or engaging your core sound, or engaging your support from your ribs, or from your belly, or from your back, whatever. The point is, direct your attention of engagement to another place, rather than obsessing over the place that you feel is tense. Bring your attention somewhere else. And I find that whenever I do that, I release tension without having to release. Because sometimes you don't even know where the hell your tension is. You don't know. You can't tell. So it's more about the idea of replacing a habit. Replacing your thought, so that instead of going, oh my God, this is a problem, go somewhere else. Where can I make a stronger engagement? And that will a lot of times relax something else. Because more often than not, if your tongue and your jaw are over-engaged, as in while they're shaking or they're stuck, it's because something else is not engaged enough, and they are compensating for you. Just like the same thing with your throat. If your throat is starting to hurt and your throat is starting to press and engage, more often than not, it is compensating for the fact that your belly and your support is not engaged enough. And so your throat has to pick up the slack. If you think of it that way, it's the same thing with your whole muscles, all your muscles and all your body. And I want to use this to tell you guys another very important thing. If you are not well, you're sick for a little while, and you lose your voice or something like that, try to really be patient and wait until you are recovered to start singing again. And I will tell you why. Because if you force yourself to sing when you are compromised by more than just a little cold, compromised by you've been sick for several weeks, you haven't sung in several weeks, your voice is, you've had flu or something like really, really serious. Be careful as you start to sing again that you really wait until you're okay. Because if you start singing when you only got half a voice, your voice is going to do what it has to do to compensate for the half a voice that's going on. And those habits that it had to have to get around the issues that your voice is currently having will stick around when your voice comes back. And you'll still be doing things that you were doing when your voice was not in perfect shape. So if you're down for repairs, you need to be down for repairs, yeah? And this is one of the things that it's a very hard lesson to learn. It's kind of like when you sprain your ankle and you want to just kind of work through it and you want to like run even when it kind of only hurts a little, but you want to just keep running anyway. What ends up happening is you end up limping for a while, and then you're your bad ankle will eventually heal, but then you'll have like a stronger other leg. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like you end up compensating. So I feel like when you can rest and let your voice completely fix itself and be honest to God, ready to work when you start working again. That way you won't start building weird habits that get you through. Only do that if you have to get through. And I tell you guys this because I made a mistake of doing this. I had a period, where I was singing a lot, and I was having a lot of inflammation, and my cords were extremely swollen. I was having really bad allergies, and I was in a lot of stress, and I lost my voice for a while. Like, I could barely sing, but I had to sing. I had to figure out a way to get through it, and so what I have to do is put a lot more air in to get my voice to go. You know when that happens? When your voice is like, when you go like, and the only way to sing is to push more air? Okay. That is what you do when your cords are swollen and you must sing. You have to push more air. All you do is create yourself a longer period of recovery. So yeah, you might get through it a little bit, but all you're doing is adding to that inflammation. And what ended up happening for me was I had a good couple of months where I had to keep singing performances and just do the best that I could on chords that were not perfect and were not well. And I kept messing up my recovery. It's like I kept spraining my ankle again. I kept retwisting it. And eventually I had new habits that I had built up so that I could survive that period. And then when my voice came back, I had to undo those bad habits. And that is very hard to do. It's scary and uncomfortable, and it's not anything I would ever want any of you to go through. So at the time, it was kind of an emergency for me. It was like pay or play. Sing or it was not really pay or play. It was sing or do not get paid. And I needed to do it, and I had to just do it. So I encourage you to just really be careful about when you start singing again. And, you know, when you have, like, for example, ladies, when you're on your time of the month and you have your weird period voice and you have, you know, thank you for asking, Vasiliki, precisely. Your main goal in life during that ridiculously horrible week is trying to stay rested and trying to not get into spirals of PMS, spirals of mental cuckoo-ness, because I know for me, I don't know about y'all, but I'd be going through some difficult emotional stuff during that time of the month sometimes, especially certain birth control would cause that for me really bad. And it was a real problem for a while, and I had to change my birth control. But that's private and personal and your own thing. But my voice was always feeling like it was swollen. My cords were swollen all the time. And I was like, how the fuck am I supposed to do that? I always felt so hoarse or just like, and fatigued, right? And so I actually got off the birth control pill, Samantha. I know this is like deep girl stuff, but honest to God, I stopped taking it because I had a period voice every single month. And I do not have time for 7 days out the month be dealing with period voice. I don't have time for that. So I went and I have a different birth control method now. I have an IUD. I know it's a lot of information, but hey, we're talking about our bodies here, ladies. This is private. This is not being filmed. We're not recording it. But I have a different birth control method. But that is very personal. That is your business. Something you should talk to your doctor about, because doctors know. Doctors know what certain birth control does to the larynx. Because this is what is this known as? Your larynx is known as there's a word for it. There's a very specific, No, it's a lymph node. Your lymph nodes are here. Thank you, that's the word I was like, lymph, yes. This is right here by your throat. And certain birth controls affect your lymph nodes. So talk to your doctor about that, personal. But if you are dealing with it, the best thing you can do is sleep, hydrate, put nutrients into your body because you're losing nutrients on the regular, and fight inflammation with natural things as much as possible. So turmeric, drink lots of turmeric tea, lots of ginger, as strong as you can take it. Ginger tea, as strong as you can take it. Even raw ginger is a really good anti-inflammatory. I like lemon. Lemon I like to chew on it a little bit off stage in between, in the intermission, and I like pineapple. Because pineapple is an anti-inflammatory as well. But these, there are many anti-inflammation foods. Generally, healthy fats are anti-inflammatories, but I don't know that you want to be chewing on nuts before you have to go out and sing. So that's why I like citrus, and I like Turmeric tea and ginger. Okay, licorice, yes. Black licorice, I cannot say enough great things about black licorice, actually. It's Italy. A singer friend of mine was like, here. And they gave me a little black licorice tablet. And I was like, what is this? He said, per la voce. It's for your voice. I was like, okay. And I tasted it. It was the nastiest thing I ever tasted. It tastes like coffee, it's like chewing on a coffee bean, and I'm not a fan of licorice, but I tell you what, it sure did make my throat feel good. Now I love my little black licorice. In Italy, they have a brand called Tabu. Tabu. It's a little green box. Get yourself some black, but not the one that's full of sugar. It cannot be sugary. It has to be the plain, not sweet licorice. It's actually kind of amazing. Even it's very strong. You literally need a piece the size of your pinky nail. That's all you need. You can pop that under your tongue when you're singing. I know I hate it too, but listen, it really does help. It can have menthol. Mine doesn't. Mine's pure. You can get ones with a little menthol. I like Ricola as well, but anyway, as far as inflammation, that's something we have to deal with at certain times in life. So we were talking about placement. We should get back to what we were talking about. Placement, avanti and indietro, the tongue and jaw position. We talked about the lips. So the lips and the jaw and all this. The lips sometimes are going to want to like tighten on you. And if you ever feel like you're getting to a place where your lips are just like pressed back and you're like maybe holding your jaw because of it, try to just gently remember to tell yourself to release the bottom lip from the bottom teeth. Just here. Just gently. Just so gently. It might work for you, it might not, but I find once in a while, even on like an just gently letting my lip go, especially on a high note, can be helpful because the lip being a little loose here, here and here, being a little loose gives you a little more bell. It's like a little trumpet with a little bell, and that bell gives you a little bit slightly longer tube of resonance, so you project a little bit more if your lips are loose and are free. So it's something that is a little trick that might be able to help you sometimes. An exercise, not really exercise, but a thing. My friend Sasha, I saw her do this on her Instagram live, and I was like, ooh, I want to try that. And she was Sasha, my friend Sasha Cook, phenomenal mezzo, phenomenal, one of the best artists, singers I've ever known in my life. I love Sasha. And she learned this from Diana Soviero. And Diana Soviero is also one of the greatest singers ever. Teacher, fabulous. Freaking real. Y'all think I'm real. Y'all ain't met Diana Soviero. Diana Soviero is the most real New York, what in the hell is going on at the Metropolitan Opera kind of lady. You know what I'm saying? I mean, she will be so real. She doesn't even... but I love her. I mean, she's hysterical. Okay, so she has this thing that she taught Sasha, which was to, when you sing, to kind of pinch the top, like your Elvis Presley, your Cupid's bow together a little bit, just gently. So if you're singing, so you're singing, whoa, oh my God, what just happened? And all it does is it loosens my lip away from my teeth. And it lifts the soft palate. I don't know how. It's like a magical little connection. So yes, you cannot sing on stage and be like, no, okay, you can't do that. But if you get the sensation of that feeling and you can replicate it without your fingers, it's something that can help you to bring awareness. Again, we're bringing awareness to a part of our body that might have been not engaged, or that could be doing something better. So it is a little trick and poo for y'all. I hope it helps. Some people, if they can't hear themselves, they do this. I've seen men do this all the time. Because the thing is, you never know what you really sound like. You know? Like, people always say to me, oh, Lisette, how's your show? And I'm like, I don't know, I've never seen it. Because I've never seen it. I don't know. Oh, Lisette, you have the most wonderful voice. Thank you. I've never actually heard it. But thank you. You're never going to hear your voice outside of your own head. Which is why. And I wrote this in my little disclaimer when I sent you guys the stuff about the technique and stuff. I'm not a pedagogue. I am not an ENT. I am not a scientist. I am not a voice teacher, technically. I guess now, technically, sort of, I could be. But I'm just a singer. And singers, because we are not, most of the stuff that we do is involuntary. We basically control our mouths by what we think. If only we control our mouths with what we think. Our thought is what creates the position to make any vowel, any word, any pitch. We just simply have to think it, and then it will kind of happen because of that whole concept that it's involuntary. Knowing all the names of the muscles and everything, because there are lots of muscles, and knowing every single, breakdown of what a larynx looks like, and all the little bits and pieces, and all the tiny little delicate things, that's wonderful to know, and I encourage you to explore it and learn it and know it. But a lot of it, even knowing it, doesn't help you sing better. You have to know how to apply it with sensation by knowing what the sensation is when something good is happening, when something wrong is happening. You will know the sensation. You will be uncomfortable. There will be pain. There will be fatigue. The sound won't be even. The sound won't be supported. You won't be in tune. You won't. Your vibrato won't be even or smooth. Your vibrato might be wobbly. All those things you might not be able. You might be able to go to an ENT or a pedagogue who can say, well, what you need to do is engage your cricothyroid and go into this whole thing, and you're going to be like, okay, so how do I actually do that? Well, think about opening the throat like a bullfrog. Well, do you know what I'm saying? I know that's descriptive language rather than telling you to literally lower your larynx, because I also feel like telling people to lower their larynx. You want your larynx to be low enough to be free so that you can breathe and have a nice, relaxed kind of track thing going on. But telling people to lower their larynx encourages people to press down their larynx. And this is what I don't want you to ever do in life. Just like I don't want you to lift your larynx. Think about lifting your larynx. I don't want to ever tell that to people, because your larynx will lift all by itself. And it will lower all by itself if you know the sensation of the larynx being too high or the larynx being too low. So if I'm trying to sing a high note, here's the issue also. Your larynx has to do what it has to do to match a pitch. Period. If you want to sing a high C with a pressed larynx, you will be the most uncomfortable, ugly, flat high C I have ever heard in my life. You cannot do it with a depressed larynx. You must let the larynx freely move to do what it needs to do to let you sing a high C. But what you need to be worrying about, instead of trying to figure out what's going on with that, is that you're lifting your soft palate, that you're supporting all the support. You are creating the best environment for that high C to happen. That's what you think about. You do not think, okay, I'm going to lower my larynx, now I'm going to sing a high C. Ridiculous and destructive, in my opinion. Honestly, I really do think that is destructive, because this is why obsessing about larynx, jaw, tongue, any of those things, obsessing about them, all it is going to do is make you force them. And forcing them is like a recipe for disaster. The recipe for you not being able to control your voice, is a recipe for you not being able to sing for long periods of time, is a recipe for you not being able to master dynamic control and all that stuff. You don't want that. You want to have all the control of your instrument. You want to be able to, at any moment, sing any pitch on any vowel within reason, in your control, that you choose. And that's why technique is important. As I said early on yesterday, the very first thing I said, technique is not one way to do 100 things. Technique is 100 ways to do one thing, and picking the one that you like the most, the one that fits and suits you the most. So, that's my thoughts on that. Mixing your nasal resonance. Now, I do believe in some amount of nasal resonance being available, because I don't think you should ever sing 100% in the nose, because you can sing 100% in the nose. And if you're not sure if you're singing too far forward, too far into the nose, you just simply pinch your nose and you'll know. I can't sing it in my nose. So how do I know if I'm doing it too far nasal? Now, I'm not going to pinch. I'm going to try to sing really nasal. I can't even do it. I can't. So if you're singing completely in your nose, try pinching. If you can't pinch your nose and still sing, then you're too far in your nose. Bam! I found a spot that resonates And that's one of the little tricks I have for people. If I hear a soprano, because often sopranos will sing a little too nasal in their middle, but also in the top. They'll kind of be like, ooh, or okay, can you try pinching your nose and sing that exact pitch for me? And then they go, oh, and I'm like, yes, there it is. So if you, that's why you should be able to sing with a cold. You should be able to sing with a completely stuffy nose. It's not going to be so comfortable and so easy because you won't have any nasal resonance available to you. You won't be able to sing no, no. You won't be able to sing. You won't be able to. But you can be like no, you'll be okay without the n. You'll sound like you have a stuffy nose, but you will still be able to sing your vowels because you don't sing your vowels completely in your nose. And you might get contradictory advice, you guys. I mean, about a lot of this stuff, which is why I urge you to take all these things and process them, in your heart, and ponder them in your heart, and see what they do, how they feel in your voice, how they feel in your registers. When you vocalize, that you isolate parts of your voice that are weird or that are uncomfortable, and work on them apart from the context of the aria, because sometimes in an aria it's one thing, but it feels different in a vocalese. Like one guy was saying to me yesterday, well, I feel like I can vocalize all the way 4 or 5 pitches higher than I can actually sing in an aria. When I get to that pitch in an aria, I can't sing it. I crest out 3 pitches lower than what my vocalese was. So what's wrong? What am I doing wrong? And I'm like, you're not doing anything wrong. You're in context. Every single note is different. Just because you can vocalize to high F doesn't mean you can sing a high F in context of where it comes in a piece. And that's something that is normal and is natural and is part of why you build your instrument, why you build your strong vocalises, so that you can ideally stretch those limits for yourself. So I'm going to look at some of these questions. Horizontal and vertical sound. Maria, that's a great question. Great question. There are some pitches that have to be more horizontal. You have to make them more horizontal. Like B flat, B natural, C. For me, C cannot be this way, vertical. A tall vertical vowel does not serve me on high C. A nasal, more horizontal vowel tends to serve me on high C because of where high C sits. So once I get into high C, I'm all resonating, all thinking about this half of my head. Everything is here. If I'm feeling any kind of jaw tension, I put my attention here, my awareness here, and I let that drop gently. But if I'm singing a high C on a vertical position, I really struggle. So yeah, some sounds are going to be more this way. You have to find what those pitches are. In fact, looking at the little chart is very helpful, because the higher the pitch, generally, the less vertical. The lower the pitch, the more vertical. You try to sing a low pitch in this way, it's not going to be as present as it could be if you sang it vertically. Yeah? So like a demonstration, Jasmine. Yes. A demonstration. This is La, high A. B flat, Si bemole, Si naturale, and Do, high. So I'm going to start La. Oop, there goes my finger. Turn off, Peter, come back. There he is. La. So La, am I fully supported La? My belly is coming out, my lower belly. I'm going to show y'all. Y'all know what it's all about, right? So you got to have your nice, I'm thinking about space separating my bottom rib from the top of my hip. When I'm relaxed, they're together. When I am tall and lifted and supported, they separate slightly more. A little more space. Okay, so I go to zip up this part of my abs, and I let this part of my abs relax down and out. I know I'm getting ready to attack a high A. That is my preparation for getting ready to attack a high difficult note. And that's quite vertical. Now as I go above that, it starts to come out to help me support, and my palate starts to lift, so I come more vertical up here. But down here, I'm down and out. So that's A, B flat. As I go into C natural, I have way more horizontal. I have to be. I can't sing C natural on I can't do it. Now, that's high C. Now, low C, 2 octaves below that, is not the same as position basically that I had in my mouth with a high C. It's vertical. It is low, vertical, relaxed down the back. That's my low C. You see the difference? And my high C, y'all didn't see my face. I'm going to show you my face. See my melody? I don't have quite as much dropping in my jaw going on because that for me starts to be horizontal space. And everything above that, more horizontal again. Whereas in the bottom, slightly more open jaw. It's not a huge amount of difference, yeah? It's a slight difference, but it's enough that, you know, your mouth doesn't have to be 7 inches apart, you know, that is not important. The important thing is that the space and the resonance are coming out enough, right? So that if you feel like your mouth is too closed, and if you keep your mouth too closed, you won't be able to actually go higher in your regular acuto, like right above your passaggio. I'm sorry, I'm referring back to a different register, but this is important. Right above your passaggio, as you start to cover in the passaggio. I'm relatively close to the mouth. I don't have to do that. Now, if I keep my mouth here and I don't open it for, I'm stuck. My voice got stuck. I felt it go. Where do I go? There's no place. That happened. So I open my jaw to create space for my G sharp to live. So Joan Sutherland, actually I'm glad someone said her name, because if you watch her sing, whenever she sings a high pitch, like high above C, she does this. She almost smiles. She doesn't go, do you see her do this? On above high C? No, and you will not. You will not. And this is the thing with the lip, the fish lip thing. I mean, I think fish lips are lovely and they're fine, and I think you should have an easy loose lip most of the time. Well, as you start to get higher, that loose lip is going to actually contradict what you need to actually do to achieve B natural, B flat, and or B natural, C sharp higher. You're going to have to start almost kind of smiling. It's the sensation of lifting in your cheekbones, separating your back molars from your bottom molars, your top back molars from your bottom back molars. That lift, that whole thing helps you get the resonance up here that you need for the sovracuti. And it helps if you lower your chin slightly when you go higher. Because then you can think of the sound coming up and over your head. I find that even though it looks really pretty to be like, you know, for people, I kind of get in trouble if I do this too much, especially if I'm going high. If I know I'm going to have a very important E flat that I really need to nail. Scotto actually taught me, because I was always so like, oh God, I'm so scared I'm going to miss this E flat. She's like, sing it into the floor. Sing it into the floor. Don't sing it up. Sing it down. And it came up over my head, because it has to. And that little trick of lowering your head slightly when you go to sing a super high note will make it more accessible if you're struggling to find it. So someone was asking about the jaw, yay or nay. I'm trying to see where that question went. Sub-relaxation. Was it sub-relaxation? Subluxation. Can you explain what that means, Jessica? I apologize. I don't understand what that term means. What is subluxation? My lipstick? When the joint pops, where the joint pops out? Here? Let me look for Jessica Lewis. Let me see if I can find her. Where are you at? I have a smudge? What? Stop. Wait. I gotta go to the mirror. Hold up. Somebody explain what subluxation is. What's smudge? Oh, no, indeed. And nobody pays attention if I got smudges on my upper lip. It's probably because I was touching my jaw and I made myself a big old... Yes, you do kind of feel like you're dislocating almost. Sometimes I feel like the higher I go, it feels like it's dislocating, but it's from up here. Not here, not chin. Here, this part of the jaw. But it's helpful to think more about lifting the cheekbones and letting the gravity naturally take the jaw with it. And as you go higher, creating that nice space or space if you need. Sometimes high notes you need not It'll help you. And the twang. What about the twang, Azul? Down in the countryside, I like the twang. If you're singing country, you need the twang. How do you build stamina through the registers without losing your lower register? Now, that's very important. The low register will feel not as easily accessible if you've been singing high for a long time. That's because, right? That is because your larynx is higher when you sing higher pitches. So if you try to always think of relaxing down into your low register, releasing and just letting gravity take the low register with it and mixing that nice chest voice in that nice back space. And at the end of your day, your cool down, one of the cool down things that I remember we talked about, but I encourage you to do when you're done singing at the end of the night, is to do that chest to head octave. Oh, and it's not about trying to make a beautiful high note. It's actually about landing into the B flat, and landing into the low note, which in that case was a B flat. Oh, and creating all that nice open space. If you can find those pitches again, and those are chest pitches, but they're not pushed. That's pushed. That's simply supported from the diaphragm and relaxed. Relaxed as in open and loose down here and easy. It's actually a lovely feeling to me. Also, I want to tell you guys about the little inhale vocal fry thing one more time, for those of you that missed it. Something that Dr. Paolillo taught me in Milano when I was struggling with losing my voice and stuff, and he was saying, look, if you ever need to warm up and cool down, the vocal fry on an inhale is a really good exercise because it massages the voice without you having to put sound and pressure into it. So what it is essentially is that you lower your chin, you lower your larynx as though you were going to sing a low note, right? So as though you're going to sing a low note. You engage your diaphragm, so as though you're going to breathe in, because you're going to do an inhale. But it's not going to be a huge inhale. It's going to be a soft one. And you bring the chords together, right? So you lower the larynx, exhale everything first so you can be inhale. Bring the chords together like you're going to make a glottal noise, and then inhale slightly, but engage your diaphragm. It's a buzz, and it's going to sound like a vocal fry, but it's on an inhale. So it's and you've got it. It's kind of hard. It's like it sounds like you might hear your inhaling, but it's very, the larynx needs to be low, and the chords need to come together, and the diaphragm has to hook in. If it's not coming out, it's usually because the diaphragm's not hooking in, or you're inhaling too much air. So try inhaling slightly less air. At first, I was putting too much air. So you have to kind of relax into it. You shouldn't inhale through your, actually, if it's making you snort, you're probably inhaling too much. But you lowering the chin helps. It takes a few tries. It took me like 15 minutes to get it, but you can get it. It's just a massage, but it feels really nice to cool down the chords, and it's very it's kind of it's hard. You can't inhale a lot because you're only getting a tiny bit, and you're gonna eventually your diaphragm is gonna be like, I can't anymore. So anyway, exhale it all, and eventually you'll get it. It's a really nice thing. I do it in the mornings. I do it all. My doctor said, you can do it 5 times an hour, and it helps you warm up without having to sing. And it feels like it feels warm. It feels like I've been singing. It's what it feels like, but it's also a great cool down. Don't do it on an exhale. Not that. Inhaling. Yeah. It helps you to use your diaphragm. But you'll get it eventually. You'll hear the buzz go even. You'll hear you'll hear it, and it's like, oh, and it feels wonderful, especially after you've been singing and you're tired. It's a really nice massage. Does the palate have to be up? It kind of, yeah, I think it kind of naturally does. But it's on the cords, it's not in the palate. It's only just there, yeah? Squillo is focus plus what? Squillo is focus plus spin. That's squillo. Squillo is a ring. The sound of a ringing sound, a ringing phone, a ringing bell. People say your voice sounds like a bell, it rings, right? Squillo is that it has that piercing quality, but it spins, yeah? It's not just got, it's not just core, straight laser. It's laser plus spin and resonance. That's squillo, and that's a sound that you want, right? Tips for regulating the vibrato. Yes, Sarah Ann, it's a great question. Your vibrato, if it's uneven, it's usually because there's uneven breath behind it. So if you have a good, full, supported breath, and I'm singing straight tone, I have to hold for straight tone to happen. If I add more air, it will vibrate by itself, but it has to be supported air. It's very slight, but it's starting to vibrate. I hear it. And for me to stop it, I'd have to like physically stop it. So if you're having enough air breath pressure going in, your chords are coming together properly, and you've got your nice palate and everything going on, vibrato should be happening naturally. Now, you shouldn't try to slow it down or speed it up from its natural speed. You can slow it down and speed it up from its natural speed. If once you start to learn to really work with it, you absolutely can. But you shouldn't that much. The only time you should mess with it is if it's going really slow and really wide. And we'll talk about that in tomorrow's class when we talk about a vocal issue. A wobble is what I consider a vocal issue, something that you don't want in your voice, something that is generally considered undesirable. But that can happen for a number of reasons. Age, it can happen with lack of support, it can happen with fatigue, it can happen with not efficient placement. So that's one of the things that I think we could talk about tomorrow as one of our vocal issues. Our third class, of course, is tomorrow and not Wednesday. I already told you guys, I just want to make sure. Tips for releasing weight in the voice. Caitlin. Very good question. Now, weight, if you feel like your voice is like thick, like you're getting a lot of just like, mouthful of sound, try to bring that awareness to the maschera. Into the maschera, into singing here. Because weight almost always comes from singing with too much backspace, in my opinion. I always feel like weight in the voice, as in the fact that it doesn't move around so much, the fact that it feels lugubrious, takes a lot of effort to get going. Now, you might have a heavy voice, a naturally heavy voice, which means it takes a lot of breath to get it going. Light voices don't take a lot. Light voices, like, they pick up quickly because they're a light wheel, right? So it'll just go. A heavy voice needs, like, it has to be, like, churned up and everything. So heavy voices actually take a lot longer to develop, and they're very difficult to work with. They're not easy access instruments, right? But they're wonderful instruments. And I think all these things apply to people, whether you have a heavy voice or a light voice or a lyric soprano or a dramatic or a color or whatever the hell. Fach, you want to call yourself, because Fach is so confusing, and it really, it shouldn't really matter. There was a girl that asked me, she said, well, my passaggio seems to be a third higher than yours. I said, great. So, she's like, well, is that wrong? I was like, no. It might not be common, but it's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. Like, what's the matter? She's like, well, those same concepts still apply to my passagios. Yeah. Your passaggio, wherever it is, if it's a third higher than mine or a third lower than mine, it's still the passaggio of the voice. It's still a thing, yeah? Whatever the fuck you want to call yourself. Exactly. Absolutely. Would curvature of the spine affect your sound? Well, Bonnie, if you have your natural curves of the spine that you embrace, the natural curve down here, right, in the back, the lower part, and then the natural curve up here, yes, those are going to be curved. You're not going to literally straighten your spine. The only thing that you should try to avoid is the curve that makes you do this, and the curve in your booty that makes your butt stick out too much, especially if you're wearing high heels. Your high heels throw it off. So whenever you're wearing high heels, you compensate by bringing your hips back, and I'll show you what I mean. It's like when I'm singing, if I'm standing and I'm in a normal, well, I'm on my knees on a chair, okay, but here's my normal position. You're standing upright, nice and supported. There is a curve here. And if I'm in heels, if I'm normal and everything's fine, then I can sing absolutely fine, like this. But if I'm in high heels, this happens, slightly, yeah? And when that happens, and you're in heels on stage all the time, so when that happens and you feel your nice booty sticking out, and you feel this curve being slightly backbendy, you compensate by simply tucking this in. And that's a very helpful trick because it elongates the spine and it gives you back the alignment and the support that you need so that your hips aren't tipped forward. But a curvature spine, as in like scoliosis or having like a deformity of some kind, I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest. And I would ask a doctor or an ENT about that. Because I've never worked with anyone that had that. I think that it's possible if your lungs aren't crushed or collapsed and your shoulders can still be free and your shoulders aren't collapsed and forced this way, if you can find a way to create freedom here and find a way to create freedom in your hips and everything and your ribs as much as possible, then yeah, I feel like maybe, but unfortunately I don't know, I can't say anything about that. Ashlyn's question about what do you mean by zipping up and pushing out? Yes, so this is a real thing. Your abs go from here to the top of your lady parts, right? To here, below your belly button. So the parts that and Diana Silveira taught me this actually, the parts that you want to zip up are from the belly button up. The parts that you want to have down and out are these down here. And the zipping up is just a way to kind of help you link into your support quickly right before you start to sing. So like if you're unsure of how to engage everything, think about dropping everything, exhaling everything, and then boom. The first thing that happens is that your ribs zip up. If you don't have time to exhale everything, and you're not sure how to get that nice zipped up feeling, just think of the idea of like you're gonna hold your breath. You know what I'm saying? So, in other words, like it helps you just kind of lift your ribs, and they say it in yoga a lot all the time too. And it's just a question of making sure that your abs are there. Hi, I feel you, and you don't want to rip them to the point that they're so tense and they're so flexed, because it's not about flexing. It's more about actually kind of stretching them rather than gripping them. Yeah, so it's like when you're doing a plank position and your abs have to zip up so that your back is supported and your back doesn't feel like it's going to curve. When you're in plank, and you're like top of a push-up, right? And you're this way. I can't do this on camera. But when you're on all fours, well, I can do it on all fours on this too. If I'm on, I don't know if I can do it on this too. Shit. They can see me if I'm like this? Yes? Lord! Things I do for you people. Okay, so if my abs are not zipped up, I'm like that. If my abs are zipped up, I'm like this, right? It's kind of the idea, it's kind of the counterbalance to making your back supported when you're anti-gravity like this, and you're trying to hold yourself up. Well, because you're singing, you're anti-gravity. You're upright. Can you connect zipping up to inhalar la voce? Yes, exactly. Exactly the idea. That this is always anti-gravity. But the bottom part of my abdomen, so like the bottom half of my core, this is the top half, this is the bottom half of my core here, all this. If I think of this part as zipping up, I suck in my gut, and that actually does not help me on the top. It might be okay in the middle, in the passaggio most of the time, but once I start getting into higher registers, I need to consciously push my lower belly button out. So like if I'm singing, a B flat, let's say I'm singing, I'm just vocalizing. F, fa, sol, la, si bemole, do. If I'm nice and zipped up, so my ribs are nice and lifted, yeah, this is nice and natural curve, not over curve, or not too far this way, but just natural curve. Da, this is coming out, and I can feel it pushing. Not a lot, not like I'm pregnant, but a little bit, enough to just be out. Because if I leave it in, really stuck and tight. So I find that the higher in pitch you go, the higher the resonance space is happening up here, the lower the support needs to be in the bottom half. The more resistant, the more down and out you think. So that down and out thing, you don't need to be thinking about it the whole damn time that you're singing. You need to be thinking about it. Ideally, the moments that you need to really engage it is when you're going up and high and when you're singing louder. If you want to make a crescendo, an example would be Constanze's aria Martin alla Artenberger. Here's a bit in her aria where she sings on a high C, and then she goes, and she sings a high C for 15 years, and then she comes down. Okay, that high C, you have to sustain, and you kind of have to do something with it, and I like to crescendo. So the way that I crescendo that high C is simply by pushing my belly out and making more air come through. That's how I do it. Okay, so I'm going to show you with my belly. And it's on A, which is hallelujah, one thing Mozart like totally hooked us up with. He gave us A. Okay, then I sing it soft. All I did was let my belly swell. My belly just swelled, and nothing different happened here. I felt this lift happening. I felt the air. And the thing is, if you don't do it with your belly, you'll do it with your throat. That's the trouble. If you don't do it with your core, you'll do it with another muscle that's weaker, and then it's not as ideal. And that's why in fitness, in any workout that you do, any muscle, weightlifting, yoga, any running, you must engage your abdomen. You cannot let your abdomen not carry the bulk of the weight, bulk of the workload. That is what always should be working. So like when you're in plank position, when you're doing push-ups are not your shoulders, just a workout of your shoulders and your upper body and your arms. Push-ups are a workout of your abs. Pull-ups are a workout of your abs. All of these things. Now, that doesn't mean you should go and like become and get a six-pack. That's not what's necessary. My point is that your abdomen has to be engaged in these exercises, just like it should be engaged when you are singing, when you are speaking, because it supports the output of energy from your breath going through your tiny little vocal folds, so that your poor little tiny little voice doesn't have to take on all the stress onto itself. How hard am I pushing my belly out, Chaz? Just enough that I feel like I'm getting freedom. If I feel like I need more, I'll push a little bit more. But once I'm feeling that freedom and I feel like I've crested the forte where it's, if I push any further, it's going to be pushed. You find your forte limit. You find your natural edge. I think that's a yogic term as well. Find your edge, because it could be different for you. For one person, they might be able to crescendo into 3 times as more forte than you. That doesn't mean that you can't ever get there. You just have to learn how to build that. Because forte takes a lot of power. A lot of strength. But if you do it with efficiency, placement, breath, you get louder without having to, singing on point, having support in the heels of the feet. Yes. So the other thing, besides your hip coming out, your booty sticking out, right? Your nice Beyonce butt. The other thing that happens a lot of times to throw off your alignment is when you get on the balls of your feet. And I did see a lot of videos, and a lot of singers generally just kind of do this. I know we're getting to the end of the meeting, so this will be the last thing. But if you find yourself leaning into the balls of your feet, the problem with that is it throws off your alignment in the back as well. It throws off your balance. So if you're feeling that, especially on high notes, like a tendency to I'm going to go up because I'm singing, try to just simply sink back into the heels. Just gently remember to just remind yourself to come into the heels. Not all the way back, just enough. And if you're singing in high heels, put the most weight that you possibly can of your body into the heel part and not into the ball part. Yeah? And that's hard to remember to do, but I'm telling you, it has saved me on so many occasions. I can't even tell you. On long nights where I have just oh my God, I'm so exhausted, I'm just going to do this. And it's really helped me. So I hope that those were good answers to most of you guys' questions. Is breathing technique the same as exercise or doing sports? In ballet, some of the sports require tension in the abs. It's very true. That's very true. That's why a lot of singers don't do ab workouts. I encourage you to do ab workouts that involve your entire body. Plank, push-ups, pull-ups even. But the thing is that your abs, if they become so tense because they're strong, and when strong muscles are tense, tend to be tense muscles. If they are strong and they are tense, it's going to be hard for you to get that bellowing feeling that you really need. If you have abs, hallelujah, beata te, Estefania. I wish I had a fabulous six-pack. I think I'd look damn good in a bathing suit, but I don't have that, and I don't think it's necessary to have that. If you have that, and it's a blessing, Lord, just as long as you know you can engage the looseness that you need, the stretching that you need, the breadth and the space that you need, that's more important to me. So, my stomach goes in, not out when supporting. Is that wrong? No, that is not wrong, Grace. Your stomach does partially go in. The only time it goes out is if you consciously kind of push it out on high notes. So see if that helps you. A lot of people sing on the in support. A lot of baritones do that. I have a few baritone friends they swear by supporting down and or up and in. Try that. If that works for you and it feels free and amazing, do it. If it doesn't, try down and out and see if that makes a difference for you. But anyway, I'm gonna end it here. You guys have been amazing. Thank you for all your wonderful questions. I know I can't get to every single person, but I try to get to as many as I can see. The breakout room is now, and if you have donated, now we are at $65. If you have donated $65 or more over time, you're welcome to join us. Stick around for the breakout room, and we will be able to talk further about these subjects, and you guys can ask questions yourself. You get to talk and maybe sing a little. So if you want to join that, you can. You guys know how to donate is available on every email that I send. Please do not feel forced. We don't do anything in secret behind your guys' back in the breakout room. We just talk a little farther. But anyway, love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.